The book I chose for my project is Anthony Bourdain's Kitchen Confidential. In this book, he talks about the culinary industry. He focuses not on the chef that often gets most of the credit, but instead on the workers behind the scenes. He separates the book into six different sections: appetizer, first course, second course, third course, dessert, and finally, coffee and a cigarette. He does this to make it similar to the different courses someone will get throughout a meal in a restaurant, and allows the reader to swallow the story in this fashion. Anthony Bourdain begins his story by telling the reader that he loves being a chef, that he wants to share the true story about living and working in the culinary profession. He's brutally honest about the lifestyles of the cook in the 1980s, where the industry was more cutthroat than it is today. He's often depicted as a heavy drug user, living poorly, and in this book, he talks about the most embarrassing moments in his culinary career. In the first course, he starts with his childhood and leads up to his attendance of the CIA and obtaining his first job. As a child, he was always a petite eater. His first experience of delicious cuisine was on a family trip to France. There, he ate a bowl of vichy soise, a cold soup made of leafing potato. Upon his second trip to France, the things that he noticed about the French cuisine weren't the things that stood out to normal people. Instead, the things that stood out to him were the things the food lacked. As he got older, he realized that he had a passion for food. He got his first job and worked as a dishwasher. Over time, he worked his way up through the ranks. He enjoyed the carefree attitude of working in the kitchen and decided that this was the industry for him. However, working made him arrogant, and as his restaurant was bought out, he was appointed the head broiler cook. However, as he relied more and more on his sous chef, it was shown to him and to his sous chef and all the other chefs in the kitchen that he was inexperienced. He then decided to attend the CIA to prove that everyone was wrong. In the second course, he aimed more on talking about the inner workings of the restaurant industry than instead of talking about his own story. He talked about the different types of people that would work in the kitchen, but also listed things that people should expect when coming into a diner. He talks about how much he enjoys the relationship between a chef and the sous chef, and talks about how just because you're a woman, it doesn't make a difference in the kitchen. He stresses about working clean in the kitchen and talks about a previous experience he had with a chef. That chef would often go around the kitchen and visiting the different chefs that had piled up tickets and failed to produce the food they were asked for. The chef would go up to the station, place his hand on their cutting board that was often covered in just leftover food, and then show it to the chef. What was often on his hand was either grime, leftover food, just things that they should have cleaned up on as they were cooking. In the third course, he decides to move to New York City to cook. He starts at the Rainbow Room and experiences success by working with an old colleague. However, it soon went downhill. He worked for several unsuccessful restaurants and always regretted having to fire someone. Instead of food inspiring him to continue working, the thing that motivated him the most was money. He called this time of his life the wilderness. In dessert, similar to the second course, he talks about the types of people that the general public won't see. He dedicates two chapters to two people that he mentions throughout the book. He also talks about the events that occur during a chef's day. In his own life, as soon as he wakes up, he'll immediately begin to think about what he needs to do for the day, from the weekend shipments coming in, how to store it, what to do with it, and what to do with the previous day's leftover products. In the final chapter, he talks about a man named Scott Bryan. Despite his entire book depicting the different corrupt chefs that he worked with, this man was the culinary ideal. The reason why I chose this book was simply for the fact that it was written by Anthony Bourdain, who was a very influential chef in the career. And this book talks about the life of a chef that most people don't see. When they think of chef, most people think of the Food Network, the people that make large amounts of money, that don't work for hours and hours, and are hardly stressed out. However, this book often talks about the trials and difficulties a chef will experience, and I feel that as a chef that's attending school to go into this profession, this was a very eye-opening experience that I can use or any other student can use. Thank you.